So for those of you who have not attended a webinar in the past couple months, I am Sydney. I am the Senior Dosage Specialist on the Dosage Support Team here at Equilibria. A little bit about my background. I have a biology degree from Washington University in St. Louis. And prior to coming to Equilibria, I had experience working in the international medical cannabis market. So as Amanda was just saying, we would really love for this to be much more of an interactive webinar experience. Today, we're going to be doing a lot of talking about CBD myths and really what the truth is behind them. And we're going to cover a couple, ones that we hear of a bunch, but I do really want to hear from you as well. So to get us started here, again, a little bit more of what we'll cover, starting with the basics. What is CBD, including where does it come from and how does it work in the body? Then jumping into those CBD myths, we'll talk a little bit about myths around mental and physical effects, safety and efficacy, along with what really constitutes a high quality CBD product. And then at the end, we will get to your burning questions. What myths have you heard and how can we help debunk them? So again, anything that you come up with, please go ahead and put it in that question and answer section. If you do not want your name read out loud, please go ahead and submit anonymously. Either way works for us. We are excited to hear what you've heard about CBD. So to get us started, what is CBD? We got to go all the way back to basics here. Where does CBD even come from? CBD comes from the cannabis sativa plant as a whole. Botanically, there isn't really a difference between the type of plant, the cannabis sativa plant that your CBD comes from, versus the type of cannabis sativa plant that your, say, a THC dominant cannabis sativa plant. They're all the same botanically. However, there is a distinction between them, and that comes from federal legislation. Our federal government has said that anything with less than 0.3% THC is hemp, and that is federally legal. Whereas anything with 0.3% THC or more is considered THC dominant cannabis. And that's actually legal on a state by state basis, while it is federally illegal. So hemp actually comes in two different subsets of hemp. One subset is going to be that industrial hemp that is bred to do things like make fibers, cloth, other source materials. For example, base materials for buildings, things like that. And that hemp often does not have a lot of CBD in it. Whereas hemp that is used to derive CBD products is going to be bred to have higher amounts of CBD. Again, all hemp though is going to have less than 0.3% THC, whereas THC dominant cannabis has more than 0.3% THC. So what actually is CBD then? CBD itself is considered a cannabinoid, but what most people don't know is that both plants and our bodies produce cannabinoids. Cannabinoids produced in plants are the phytocannabinoids. The one we'll be talking about most today is CBD. Another popular household name is THC, but believe it or not, there's actually over 100 cannabinoids that have been identified, specifically phytocannabinoids that have been identified. If you are a little bit more well-versed in cannabinoids, maybe you've tested some others out. A couple of them would be maybe CBN, CBG, CBC, CBDA, and CBDV. Again, there's over 100 of them, and those are just the ones I'm listing off the top of my head. Endocannabinoids, on the other hand, are going to be the ones that your body's producing. Most people don't know the names of these. Two of the more well-known ones are anandamide and 2-AG. But the most important thing about these cannabinoids, whether they are phyto or endocannabinoids, they do have very similar molecular structures, which means our bodies are primed to use both of them. How exactly are our bodies using both phyto and endocannabinoids? That answer is the endocannabinoid system, or the ECS. You'll hear me call it that throughout the presentation as well. As you can see, this endocannabinoid system has receptors in nearly every area of the body. And since it was discovered back in the 1990s, researchers have determined that the function of the endocannabinoid system is to maintain balance or homeostasis. It does this by using those endocannabinoids as the communication molecules. The problem that a lot of people run into, though, is that stress can have a particularly negative effect on this system. One way in which it has a negative effect on this system is when stress hormones flow through your body, they can actually increase the rate at which those endocannabinoids are broken down, which means your body's not going to have the molecules it needs for your endocannabinoid system to function in tip-top shape. However, adding CBD can not only help your endocannabinoid system by activating these different CB receptors, it also plays a role in mediating and slowing down the breakdown of these endocannabinoids, which over time can help your body build back up the number of endocannabinoids you have and helps with those balancing and healing properties of the endocannabinoid system. So in simplest terms, the function of CBD is to support your body's natural balancing and healing properties. So now that you know a little bit more about where CBD comes from, what it's doing in the body, let's jump into talking about some of the myths that we've been hearing quite frequently.
Sydney, can I just say that if anyone does have a myth that they would like us to debunk that's not in these that we're about to go over, please go ahead and put that in the Q&A box. I'm just going to repeat myself. And we did have one question come through, but I think we can answer that at the end of this. Thanks.
Great. Yes. Again, please put those myths into the Q&A box. We will have lots of time to debunk these at the end. I am very much looking forward to some live action myth busting. So first one here, this is a big one. And that assumption is that CBD is illegal. And as I mentioned earlier, CBD is actually not illegal. The federal government did pass the Federal Farm Bill, also known as the Agricultural Act of 2018, which legalized both the production and sale of hemp bread with less than 0.3% THC. So as I mentioned, here at Equilibria, we do have a full spectrum CBD product, which means that we are going to have those trace amounts of THC. One thing to note is that the amount of THC in our products does actually fall well below that 0.3%. For example, our regular strength products on average have about 0.0455% THC, which does make them federally legal. So you can bring them with you anywhere in the US. THC dominant cannabis products, on the other hand, again, they are legal on a state-by-state basis. Some states have laws that allow it medically. Some states have laws that allow it both medically and recreationally, whereas other states have decriminalized it. Currently, our government is engaging in ongoing conversations about the future of legality in the cannabis sphere. Some of these conversations are around the potential to decriminalize cannabis use on the federal level. Some of these conversations are around medical use, and some go as far as recreational use as well. So while change, if you've been involved in the cannabis industry for a while, has seemed slow, there are some really exciting things going on in our federal government that we can look forward to. So this next one, and again, this is a big concern for a lot of people, and that's the assumption that CBD will make you feel high. And the reality of it is CBD itself is a non-psychotropic compound, which means it can't get you high. THC, on the other hand, is popularly used to elicit those psychotropic effects to make people feel high, both medically and recreationally, again, depending on the state. So while high doses of THC can make you feel stoned, when combined with CBD in smaller doses, so for example, in a full spectrum CBD product, it can actually help direct that CBD to the proper receptors in your body. And ultimately, this contributes to maximizing the efficacy of your CBD. Not only do full spectrum products have the CBD and the THC in them, they also are going to have a lot of those other cannabinoids and terpenes, which are the essential oils of the plant. And each of them has therapeutic properties as well. But when combined, the ultimate reality is that they do help maximize the efficacy of each other and the efficacy of your CBD product. And that's why a lot of individuals will report needing higher doses of a broad spectrum or isolate CBD product than they do with a full spectrum CBD product. Broad spectrum CBD is going to have all of the cannabinoids and terpenes aside from THC, whereas isolate CBD is going to just be CBD on its own. Next one here, CBD is unsafe. This is another popularly held myth, and we want to make sure that you don't feel uncomfortable taking CBD because you assume it's unsafe. The World Health Organization has publicly said differently. In 2018, they released a safety profile on CBD that says, across a number of controlled and open label trials of the potential therapeutic effects of CBD, it is generally well tolerated with a good safety profile. This report goes on to say that CBD is non-habit forming, which means you cannot develop an addiction to it, you cannot overdose on CBD, and you cannot build a tolerance to CBD. Now, I'm sure that those of you who have been around with Equilibria for a while have heard about us talk about changing your CBD routine. And that's because the amount of CBD you need is going to be quite dependent on the amount of stressors your body's facing at a given time, whether that is physical or mental. So oftentimes when members find that their stressors are increasing, we do have to go forward with a bit of an increase in dose. Conversely though, a lot of members do find that when their stressors decrease, they're actually able to decrease that dose again. Therefore, again, supporting that you're not building a tolerance to CBD. So next here, CBD benefits are only placebo effects. So placebo effects, for those who are unfamiliar with the term, that's the idea that you assume something is going to work. So retroactively, you experience effects when there's not effects there. And with CBD, that is not the case. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of peer-reviewed research articles confirming that CBD plays an active role within the endocannabinoid system. And currently, researchers are looking beyond the endocannabinoid system to see other ways in which CBD may be interacting with our bodies. For example, does CBD interact with other receptors in different body systems? Does CBD impact neuronal signaling in your brain and throughout the rest of your body? A lot more research needs to be done in those areas, but since the 1990s, researchers have confirmed that CBD may be a therapeutic option for stress and mood management, chronic discomfort, sleep challenges, and early evidence is showing that there may be potential for so much more. This is a big one that we get from members who have already started with us. We often hear that people are a little nervous to take their CBD during the day because they think it's going to make them inherently sleepy. And as we spoke about earlier, CBD is working to support your body's own natural balancing and healing properties through the endocannabinoid system, and that in part includes your circadian rhythm. So generally, our members are finding that daytime CBD can help them feel more energized, calm, and relaxed throughout the day, whereas CBD taken in the evening can help them wind down, feel a little bit more prepared for bed, maybe more of those sedative effects in the evening. But as you can see at the bottom of this slide, this only happens when you're taking the right dose of CBD. And that brings me to our next myth, that more CBD is always better. That is definitely not the case. CBD has what we call a biphasic effect, which means that taking too little or too much could be ineffective. And a lot of our members actually report feeling the opposite of the desired effect when they take more CBD than their body needs at a given time. So for example, if you take CBD during the day and get a little bit tired, that could be an indication that your dose is a little bit too high. Conversely, getting a little bit more energized or restless at night, maybe try reducing your dose a little bit the next time. And then if you ever feel more on edge at any time, that could be another good indication that your dose is just a little bit too high. For those of you who are a little more toward visual learners, I encourage you to take a look at the bell graph, the bell curve we have on the screen. As we can see, the efficacy will increase with your dose up to a certain point, but past your sweet spot dose, we often do see the efficacy decline. That's why it's always so important to go low and slow when you're starting with a routine and when you're first making changes to that routine. We always recommend giving a routine change at least 5 to 7 days before increasing any further, just to give your body some time to adjust. And if you are trying a higher dose for the first time, we'd recommend doing it on a day when you don't have much going on. Don't try that extra half dropper or your first rapid calming melt before a big meeting or when your kid's having a meltdown. Try it on a day when you're sitting at home, relaxing, maybe spending time in the garden with family watching TV. So next here, a lot of people do assume that CBD is just the next fad, it's the next trend. And while CBD has been increasing in visibility and popularity, humans have been using it for centuries, whether it's CBD or cannabis sativa as a whole, THC dominant cannabis. It's been used as a medical tool in particular since ancient times. Looking at the US in particular, cannabis was widely utilized as a patent medicine through the 19th into the early 20th century, and it was described in the US Pharmacopoeia for the first time in 1850. So that's a little over 170 years ago, if the math off the top of my head is correct there. However, federal restriction of cannabis is nearly a century old at this point. It was first restricted both the sale and consumption of cannabis in 1937 with the passage of the Marijuana Tax Act. And since then, cannabis as a whole has remained, or I should say THC dominant cannabis has remained a Schedule I drug in the US. So finally, if there is one thing you walk away with today, I want you to know that not all CBD products are the same. A lot of people assume that CBD is just CBD. And as we've spoken about a little bit about throughout this whole presentation, there's a lot of other components in CBD as well, in these CBD products. So quality is always going to matter. We here at Equilibria have been obsessed with science and quality from the start. We've been working with seed geneticists at our partner farm to create a proprietary hemp strain that we've used from the get-go. These plants are bred to have the highest content of phytocannabinoids and terpenes, which means we do have a lot of those other therapeutic compounds of the plant included in our product. In fact, typically it does fall around 3 to 5 times more than most other products on the market. And given the high quality of our products, they are currently being used in clinical trials around the country, which is really exciting, and we cannot wait to see the results of those studies. So, to go a little bit deeper here, I did want to go over our high quality CBD checklist. Whether you are looking at our CBD or any other companies, I want you to feel prepped and primed to get that high quality CBD experience. So, one of the main things that you should look out for is an organic CBD product. One fun fact about hemp is that it actually does a really great job of absorbing everything in the soil around it. So much so that a lot of farmers will actually use industrial hemp to clean out pesticides and other environmental toxins from their soil between harvests, between crops. So if you are not using an organic CBD product, it could potentially mean that you do have those pesticides and environmental toxins in your final product. Here at our partner farm, we always use organic farming practices to ensure that none of those environmental toxins, those pesticides, wind up in your CBD and subsequently in your body. The next one I want to talk about here is hand harvesting. One of the main areas of the hemp plant, I should say the main area of the hemp plant that contains these cannabinoids and terpenes, these therapeutic compounds, is the flower. And the flowers are quite delicate. So hand harvesting that hemp allows you to protect it until it gets to that extraction process. not only do we hand harvest the hemp to ensure that we're protecting those therapeutic compounds, we make sure that only the flower of the hemp plant ends up in that final product, is used for extraction. And that's because there aren't a lot of therapeutic compounds in the stems, seeds, and leaves. So including those in a final product, say a whole plant formula, could potentially decrease the potency of the final product. Jumping over to our next one here, gluten-free. I'm sure that's actually not something that a lot of you have thought about, unless you, of course, have some sort of gluten intolerance, celiac. But when it comes down to it, CBD doesn't need gluten to be effective. CBD doesn't need much other than healthy fats to be maximally effective in your body. So including gluten in a product means that you have something in there that the product doesn't need. We always use the minimal amount of ingredients to make the most efficacious product. You're never gonna have any extra additives or things like gluten or added sugars in our products here at Equilibria. Jumping over to arguably the most important thing to look out for, and that is the third-party lab testing. Here at Equilibria, we do internal testing along the entire production process to ensure that we have products that are high potency, no pesticides, no environmental toxins. However, their best way to actually confirm those claims is through third-party lab testing. The company does not have control over those results, and you want to make sure that those are on the website. Lab testing can include things like the cannabinoid content of the product, the terpene content of the product, along with lists of different environmental toxins, pesticides, other toxins that could be in the product to confirm that they're not there. And then lastly, single source. We always stress that you need to be following a daily consistent routine for your best results. But the best results aren't going to come if you're the only thing consistent about your routine. You need to make sure that you are getting a consistently potent CBD product over the months, the years that you are following a routine. By single sourcing our hemp, we are able to control for things like potency, the terpene content, the cannabinoid content, and that allows us to have consistency, not only from batch to batch, but between our harvests. We do grow our hemp outdoors, so we have about one harvest a year. And at that point, we collect all of that hemp, and from there, we batch it out. So between harvests, year after year, we know we have a consistent product coming your way. So before we jump into busting your myths, I did want to give a special shout out here to our new Summer Sorbet Daily Drops. They are absolutely delicious. If you have been here for a few months, this is just the latest limited edition version of our Daily Drops. They are a strawberry watermelon sorbet flavor. And for those of you who are watching tonight, you can use the code SUMMERWEB20 for 20% off all checkout purchases of the Summer Sorbet Daily Drops tonight only through 11:59 p.m. CST. So before jumping into myth busting, just a quick little disclaimer here. If you're new and still not sure where to start, I highly recommend you check out the quiz on our website. Just go to myeq.com and it'll be on that homepage. And then if you have any other questions, the Dosage support team is always here to answer them. Feel free to email into dosage@myeq.com at any time. Or if you have made a purchase with us, go ahead and book your Dosage consultation for a time that's convenient for you. Also available on our website. You can do that by going to the account tab, book a Dosage appointment. So I just want to jump right in here. Amanda, I'm going to let you give me the myths to bust.
Yeah, we had a couple of questions and myths come in here. First of all, this question actually came in before we started talking about myths, but Elizabeth asked, I have heard that hemp-based CBD is different from other forms of CBD. I would like to understand the differences.
So in the US, CBD does come from hemp. CBD isolate, I believe, still comes from hemp. But there are some studies out there that are showing CBD may be present in other plants as well. Predominantly though, CBD does come from hemp. However, there is going to be that distinction between the THC dominant cannabis and hemp. Any CBD that you're getting, say, at a medical or recreational dispensary, a good majority of that does come with higher potency THC as well. So you're going to have higher ratios. Pretty popular ones would be, say, a 1-to-1 CBD to THC, or a 2-to-1, 10-to-1. Whereas what you're getting on that's federally legal, what you're getting with us is going to have less than that 0.3% THC. So it's not that CBD is coming from different source material per se. It's that just where you buy it and the state you buy it in could make a difference in how much THC is present as well. Does that help answer your question?
Elizabeth, if you have a follow-up, please feel free to pop that in the Q&A box and we will get back to you there. We have an anonymous person who has asked, why does Equilibria not recommend dosages or have a dosage appointment prior to starting treatment? I am new here and just ordered my first box. I feel that I am starting this routine blind instead of discussing my situation with a specialist prior to starting and knowing what I should be taking and then adjusting as I continue on the journey.
That is a fabulous question. And the answer to that is you're going to get the most out of your dosage appointment, your dosage consultation, when we have a base understanding of how you're starting to respond to that CBD. If you are looking for starting recommendations, again, that quiz can be a really great place to start, but we are absolutely available via email whenever you need us. So if you do, want to write in with your health goals, let us know a little bit about what your days look like, what you're looking to address with CBD. We can give you those starting recommendations. And then once you've had the time to really see how it's working in your body, getting started, that's going to actually help us make educated decisions on those adjustments based on what you need. Everybody's body chemistry is very different. So if we're starting out without knowing how you exactly are responding to that CBD, then we're going to be making these, they're not necessarily blind recommendations. We know a lot about the way CBD works, how each of these products work, and we can tailor it to what your needs are, but we can't necessarily tailor it to how you're responding unless you've tried it first. So again, once you've made that purchase with us, go ahead and email into dosage@myeq.com. We are always happy to give those starting recommendations. Even before you've made a purchase with us, take that quiz, see where it recommends that you start. The dosage support team has played a large role in developing that quiz to make it very functional for our members. So that is an awesome resource. And if you're nervous, have questions, anything, dosage support team is here for you via email prior to your dosage consultation.
And don't each of those boxes come with like some recommended starting instructions too? Right.
Yes, each box does come with recommended starting instructions. Those are very basic instructions. Again, what we're really looking to get out of your first couple days of following a routine before you get on the phone with us is to see how you're initially responding, knowing what your body's doing with that CBD. At the beginning, it might not be what that CBD response is going to look like overall. It does take our bodies time to adjust to CBD being around. In fact, it really is around that 3-month mark that our members are seeing their best results. But having an initial basis, a basic understanding of how you're responding at first can really make it a much more valuable experience overall.
Thanks, Sydney. Jane has asked, what are your thoughts on CBD stores popping up everywhere?
CBD stores popping up everywhere is very interesting because, again, not all CBD is the same. There are, of course, going to be CBD stores that are selling high quality CBD, but there's a lot of CBD stores out there that are not selling high quality CBD. I do think that it has a lot to do with the quote unquote trendiness of CBD at this point. Even though we have been using it for thousands of years, it is much more visible and publicly spoken about. The stigma around cannabis-based products, including hemp-derived CBD, that's melting away a little bit. We're willing to have these conversations And more people are willing to walk into that store and initiate the idea of using CBD. So whether you're shopping for CBD online, in a store, always make sure to go through that CBD checklist, because again, you're not always going to get high quality just because, you know, you walked into a pretty storefront.
We just answered all the open questions that were in the Q&A, but just want to reopen again to ask people if you have any questions you would like Sydney to answer. We've got a dosage specialist here and ready to answer any question you have about CBD, whether it's about our product or any other ideas or things you've heard about in regards to just general CBD knowledge. We're happy to be here and answer. We just got another question that popped in. It's an anonymous question. I am trying CBD for anxiety. Considering it takes 3 months to really see the full results, how would it compare to someone who takes anxiety medication on an as-needed basis?
So I would like to preface this with a couple things. I am not a medical professional, so I can't necessarily speak to the differences between, say, taking an as-needed pharmaceutical versus taking CBD. But as with anything, everyone's body chemistry is different. So that 3 months is really kind of a ballpark there. Some people, it takes a little bit shorter to see those results. Some people, it takes a little bit longer. We have to give our bodies time to balance and heal on their own timeline. We can't rush anything. We can't force anything. But at CBD, like a lot of other supplements, medications, you know, there's not much out there that you can use just once and start seeing those results immediately. Of course, there are certain pharmaceuticals you can do that with. There are certain supplements you can do that with. But the overwhelming majority of supplements or medications, you do need to allow time for your body to adjust. For example, if you are iron deficient and you are going to give blood, taking an iron supplement the day before isn't necessarily going to make you not iron deficient. It's something that, you know, you listen to your doctors, you take on a consistent basis. With CBD, we ask you to do the same thing. Not only take it on a consistent basis, but especially if you're somebody that's taking medications or is kind of, you know, deciding between CBD and medications, involve your healthcare providers. Talk to them about it. Make sure that what you are doing is feeling good, it's feeling safe for you, your specific needs, and your body.
Thanks for that. As someone who has anxiety and stress, I understand the anxiety about wanting to have something work quickly.
Yes.
It's very frustrating. All right. We've got so many new questions in the inbox. So thank you guys for participating. Stella asks, I love this question. Does CBD help relieve only physical issues, or does it help with mental strain, such as dealing with grief and loss? Could CBD help?
So when we're talking about CBD, we are going to talk about it in terms of amplifying your body's natural balancing and healing properties. We're not looking to use it to treat underlying conditions. So for example, we're not using CBD to treat anxiety. We're using CBD to help address and manage stress. Stress is probably the main reason our members are coming to us. Stress, sleep, discomfort are those 3 primary health goals. A lot of people do see great results in terms of managing their stress a little bit better. And as we spoke about earlier, you know, adjusting routines. As things become more stressful, if you're dealing with grief, your body's stress response is the same, no matter what type of stress it is, whether that is grief, it's something hard at work. Your body has the same innate stress response. So when stressful things come up, whether it is a mental or a physical stressor, CBD can play a really great role in helping manage that. But again, everyone's body chemistry is different. It takes time. It might take a couple rounds of adjustments. But if you have undergone something very stressful recently and you're looking to revamp the routine, go ahead and email into dosage@myeq.com. We will be there to help, not only with understanding ways in which you can increase your dose, but ways in which you can look out for the effects of that increased dose, how it's helping you, the little ways in which CBD starts to help. You might have a follow-up question there, so if you do, let me know.
just go ahead and put any follow-ups in the Q&A box as well. Thanks, everyone. We have someone who has asked, what is the approximate milligram that people usually start with?
So on average, our members are taking somewhere between 20 milligrams and 30 milligrams of CBD in their base routine a day. So some of the really great places to start would be for maybe the Balance Plus collection, which has enough for a 10 milligram soft gel a day and one full dropper, which is also 10 milligrams of CBD, 20 milligrams total. That Calm Plus collection has those same two products, along with the rapid calming melts, which are meant to be used on an as needed basis for moments of heightened stress, feeling overwhelmed. The Sleep Plus collection has 2 daily soft gels and a full dropper a day. So that's a little bit on the higher side with that 30 milligrams. But while those are a good place to start, some people do need much lower doses. We have some members who are taking as low as maybe 5 milligrams of CBD a day. And we have some members who are taking upwards of maybe 60, 70 milligrams of CBD a day. So starting out is exactly what it is. It's starting out. It's not where you're going to end up necessarily. And that's why you do have us here. We know how these products work, how they're supposed to interact with the body, and can give you those educated adjustments based on your experience.
Love that. Thank you. We have an anonymous question regarding fibromyalgia. I can relate. Dealing with chronic pain, possible fibromyalgia diagnosis, have read that CBD can really help. Thoughts on how CBD works with that sort of chronic illness, desperate for pain relief and help sleeping, plus the anxiety the pain brings is weighing me down.
We work with lots of members who are dealing with these symptoms of fibromyalgia, Amanda included. So after I give my little spiel, I will give Amanda the space to talk a little bit more about herself. But again, we really are looking to address the symptoms of conditions, not the underlying conditions. So we're not going to talk about CBD in terms of treating fibromyalgia, but you brought up a couple really great symptoms, things like increased stress because of the diagnosis, sleeplessness because of it, that chronic discomfort that you're feeling. Again, those are really the 3 main areas that our members are turning to CBD. It all has to do with maintaining that balance in your body. Imagine yourself walking down a street. If you can't balance, you're not going to get very far very fast. But if you're feeling a little bit more comfortable, you're more balanced, you're just going to feel more confident walking down the street. Our ECS is a little bit similar. It needs to be balanced to get our body systems functioning properly, to be in harmony with one another. And taking CBD can help us do that. So one important thing to keep in mind when we're talking about addressing multiple symptoms associated with chronic conditions, you may not see results in every area at the same time. I know for myself, I personally, not necessarily related to a chronic illness or something like that, but my 2 primary health goals really are managing stress and helping with some lifelong sleep challenges. And personally, I found that my stress was managed much earlier than I started seeing those results with my sleep. So it takes a little bit of time. It takes a little bit of patience. We are here to help as long as you are willing to give it a go, give it that time. Sometimes you might find that we need a little bit of a higher dose for chronic conditions. For example, when I first started with Equilibria, I would take 1 full dropper before bed and 1 10 milligram soft gel before bed. Now, I've been here a while. I've been taking my CBD for over a year. I take more toward that half dropper. It was a chronic condition that took a really long time for me to figure out, lifelong sleep issues, lifelong insomnia, if you want to call it that. And then it happened. It took some time, but I guess the moral of the story here is trial and error a little bit and patience. But we have worked with many members dealing with chronic illnesses. And in fact, a lot of women on the team have them. Like I said, Amanda's here. So you'll always be in good hands.
Yeah, I'd just like to add, I really enjoy what we call the relief bundle because it has that relief cream or balm in it now. And I love that for when I'm having flare-ups and feeling a little aches. So love using that.
Topical CBD, or I should say using topical and ingestible CBD in tandem, is a wonderful way to address inflammation and discomfort, I should say, discomfort. And that's because you're attacking it from two ends. The relief balm is really great. It has not only the CBD in it, but arnica and menthol as well, which a lot of people just find very soothing on stubborn, aches and discomfort areas. And then attacking it from the inside out as well with those ingestible products, the daily drops, the daily soft gels, rapid calming melts, all of those.
All right. Jane asks, what if you take the drops over several weeks and then stop taking the drops for days or weeks? What could that do to your system if you are not consistent?
So not being consistent is likely going to decrease the efficacy of your routine overall. There are some people that feel the full benefits of taking CBD when they take it sporadically, but most people do need that consistent routine. Because it's not non-habit forming, it's unlikely that you'll experience withdrawal effects. However, again, everybody's body chemistry is different. If you have started taking CBD and then abruptly stopped and have noticed something, go ahead and reach out to your doctor. They know, or any healthcare professional that you have a good relationship with, they know your body better than we ever will. They're going to be able to give you the best advice, quite frankly, on what you're feeling. One thing to look out for, a lot of people do think that they are feeling quote unquote withdrawal effects when they were stopped following a CBD routine that was working really well for them. But it's not withdrawal effects per se, it's those benefits kind of melting away. So if you ever stop CBD after months of a great routine and notice that your stress is coming back a little bit, you're not managing it as well, that's not necessarily a withdrawal effect. That's going to be, your body's not getting the CBD that it needed. It doesn't have that endocannabinoid and phytocannabinoids that it needed to function in tip-top shape. So that's when a lot of people do start seeing maybe a reduction in the benefits that they were seeing.
All right. An anonymous person asks, what is your favorite product, and do you have any new releases coming up? I will say that our summer sorbet flavor is very new. It literally just came out last week. So we're giving y'all a special opportunity to try it if you'd like to. And I will tell you that we do have something very new coming in August.
Yes, there you go. So keep an eye out. My favorite product, I think it changes on a weekly basis. It really is whatever I'm using the most that week. I think the product that has made the biggest difference overall for me has been the daily soft gels. I personally really struggle to sleep through the night. The daily soft gels do have that more extended release, and I found them to be consistently an awesome fit for me for overnight support. The relief balm is, the relief balm is another one of my favorites. I get migraines. I use that relief balm on my neck and shoulders every single day without fail, at least once a day, to help, kind of keep some of that tension and that discomfort at bay. I also use it. I'm a sucker for heels. I love wearing a good high heel, but my feet don't. So I'll put it on the bottom of my feet, maybe 30 minutes to an hour before I put on heels. That way they're just a little bit less angry at me. We'll say that. When I put them on, wear them around for a while. Daily drops are also a good one. This new summer sorbet flavor is chef's kiss. It's wonderful. So if you are a daily drops gal, guy, go try these. Highly recommend.
And I'll just add that I think my current favorite, I also like change with whatever is happening, but I love those rapid calming melts. They are just like my little easy go-to in my bag, in my purse. I can kind of have them as I need at the office if I'm having a stressful meeting. It's really nice to have that. And I love, as I mentioned, the relief balm it's my necessity. I have to have it.
I think what's really cool is that you could ask anybody at our company what their favorite product is, and there's not enough products for everyone to have a different one, but most people will have a different favorite product because of different reasons, and everybody's body chemistry is different. So each of these products, even though they generally work the same way, they work differently to enhance our lives. So, you know, take my favorites with a grain of salt, take Amanda's favorites with a grain of salt. They're all well loved.
Absolutely. We have an anonymous question. I changed my CBD routine after speaking to a specialist, and I'm noticing a big difference in my mood. I'm irritable and tired all the time. What should I do?
So, first of all, I would love to get a little bit more information on that. If you are struggling with your routine after making an adjustment, please go ahead and reach out to your Dosage specialist directly, or you could, of course, reach out to dosage@myeq.com. Based on the information you volunteered, it sounds like this adjustment may be a little bit too much for you at the given time. So let's think about it like this. A lot of people are taking that 20 milligrams of CBD throughout a 24-hour period. They're taking, some during the day, some at night. There are some of our members who will take, say, a full dropper of daily drops in the morning and then a daily soft gel in the afternoon. If I did that, I would fall asleep at my desk. That's a little bit too strong for me. There are other people where that's not enough. So I do still take 20 milligrams of CBD during the day. I take about a half dropper during my day, around a half dropper before bed, along with that 10 milligram soft gel. But the timing of the routine has actually made a big difference in how good I feel after taking these doses. So if this adjustment happened and you're trying a new product at a different time in your day, you have increased a dose, whatever it is, if it's not working for you, reach out and we'll help you make those educated adjustments.
Thanks, Sydney. We have about 10 minutes left, so we might like rapid fire these a little bit more because we have 10 questions, so which I'm so excited that we do. And we can maybe go a couple minutes over, but would love to get to all of these if we can. Allison asks, I primarily take daily drops at night for stress and sleep. My allergies have been bad this year, I think, and I've stopped taking my drops for fear of taking too many things. Do you have any info about that?
So this is another situation where I would really like to know a little bit more. Daily drops, we don't often hear of people saying that our products are exacerbating their allergy symptoms. There's, of course, if you're taking your CBD at all with any sort of over-the-counter allergy medication, any prescription allergy medication, go ahead and reach out to the Dosage support team. We'll either be able to give you some preliminary education on it or send you over to our pharmacy team to give some further education on potential interactions. Something that has come up among some of our members is what we call a terpene sensitivity. And as I mentioned earlier, terpenes are the essential oils of plants. It's not the essential oils of the hemp plant. They're the essential oils of plants. And our products do contain one called beta-caryophyllene. And that's actually one of the main terpenes in black pepper. And sometimes that can result in a bit of an itchy throat when swallowed. So if you are somebody that feels like you do have a bit of a tickle, a little bit of an itch when you take the daily drops, I would recommend throwing them in the fridge. Chilled oil often helps out the problem. And the other recommendation would be try taking smaller doses at a time. It is much easier to absorb the drops that way, and make sure that not as much is touching the back of your throat when you swallow.
Can I speak anecdotally about, my allergist told me that allergies have just been really, really bad this year. I just saw her last week. So I'm just going to speak anecdotally about that. It has nothing to do with our company or CBD. I hope we answered your question there. We have quite a few questions that are asking about specific conditions. And Sydney, do you want to just reiterate how, another person's asking about hypothyroidism and if CBD will have any effects on the thyroid? And will CBD target specific areas of back pain? That's from Mary.
So CBD is working systemically in your endocannabinoid system. If you're looking to use something a little bit more targeted, that's where our topical products will come into play. Those, when CBD is applied to the skin in a topical product, it's not entering the bloodstream at high rates, so it's not going to count toward your daily dose. That's going to be a really great option for localized areas of discomfort. When it comes to these underlying conditions, again, we're not using CBD to treat underlying conditions. We're using it to address the symptoms of those conditions. So when you're thinking about getting started with a CBD routine, I don't want you to go into this thinking, I have Hashimoto's disease. How is CBD going to help my Hashimoto's? Think about it as, my Hashimoto's makes it difficult to stay asleep at night. How can I use CBD to help manage my sleep challenges? My Hashimoto's makes it difficult to manage my stress during the day. How can I use CBD to best manage stress during the day? It's changing the mindset a little bit, but that's a really great way to not only address, what needs to be addressed, but also to understand how CBD is actually working.
Great reframe there. Erica asks us, what should you do if you miss a dose? For example, I take about a half a dropper around lunch and then a half dropper around dinner, followed by a soft gel 2 to 3 hours before bed. If I miss the dinner dose on accident, should I take it with the soft gel or just skip it?
So that is another really, really great question. And the answer is totally going to be dependent on how it makes you feel. Like I was saying earlier, there are some people that will take a full dropper and a soft gel at one time. That doesn't necessarily work for me. The amount of CBD you need at a given time is going to be different at different times during your day. So maybe one day, if you forget that dose, try taking a little bit later. See if you do start to notice any of those signs of the dose being a little bit too high at one time when you do that. If not, great. You know that you can move that a little bit later on the nights that you miss it. If you do find that you're getting some of those signs that your dose is a little bit too high, then maybe you decide, you know what, if I forget it, I'm just skipping it for the night. If you're having a difficult time figuring out what to do for your specific routine, email us. I keep saying that. I know I sound like a broken record, but email us. That's what we're here for.
Sarah asks, I work in a field that has random drug testing. I am assuming that this would not create false positives, but I wanted to double check.
So because our products do have trace amounts of THC, there is always going to be the possibility that you flag on a drug test. In fact, there are a lot of urine-based drug tests that are not actually accurate enough to distinguish between the different cannabinoids in general. So while it is very rare to have a positive drug test with our products, especially at those lower doses, we do always want you to know that there is the possibility. However, if you have a good relationship with your employer, you can let them know you are taking a federally legal product. There is nothing illegal about our products. And you can also, if you have a good relationship with your employer, ask for a blood test, as that is going to be much more accurate than urine tests in most cases. And I should say, we also have those third-party lab testing results available on our website. So if anybody has questions, an employer, a tester, whatever it is, you can always show them that as well. They prove that our products are federally legal.
All right, we've got someone who's asking, I'd like to use it to reduce stress. I'm confused as to how I should start the daily drops, calming melts, and soft gels. What's a good way to start? I'm not sure if I use all of it at one time. Definitely don't use all of it.
So I would not recommend using all of it at one time to start. I would love to see you get on a routine that utilizes those daily soft gels and the daily drops on, wait for it, a daily basis. Whereas those rapid calming melts, as I did mention earlier, those really are meant to be used during those heightened moments of stress, really when you're very overwhelmed. So the first time you try them, I would recommend trying them on a day when you don't have much going on. It's always good whenever you make an adjustment to do it on a day when you have some time to relax and be really introspective about the way that dose is working for you. Generally a good place to start, I mean, with any of those regular strength Keurig collections. A lot of our members start with a soft gel in the morning and then a full dropper before bed. That can be a really good routine if you just have an underlying baseline of stress during the day and then need some help winding down at night. Other members will choose to start with that flipped, using those daily drops in the morning and then a soft gel for overnight support. I would recommend starting with that routine. If you either do not eat breakfast every morning, the soft gel should be taken with food. That can help you increase more of the CBD. Or if you are struggling to sleep through the night, that drops in the morning, soft gel at night can be a good fit. And if you're really looking to use it just for daytime stress, you could kind of structure it a couple different ways. Maybe you want to start out your morning with a small dose of the daily drops and then add a soft gel at lunch. Maybe you want to flip it around, take that soft gel in the morning and do those daily drops at the end of the workday. Whatever it is, there is no one size fits all dose or routine. Get started with something you are excited about trying and then work with a dosage specialist from there to really refine the routine, both to fit your lifestyle and address your health goals.
Thanks, Sydney. We have a glaucoma question. I have glaucoma and the previous CBD I used recommended 20 to 40 milligrams and said that doses greater than 40 milligrams may increase eye pressure. Is that a good dosage recommendation for your product also regarding glaucoma?
So when it comes to cannabis-based products and glaucoma, there is still a lot of research that needs to be done. Specifically, THC is primarily studied in that area. Before using CBD at all with glaucoma, we highly, highly, highly encourage you to reach out to a trusted healthcare provider, whether that be your eye doctor or somebody else who is helping manage your glaucoma. Please reach out to them and discuss if CBD is going to be a safe option for you at this time. Dosage-wise, it is very difficult for us to recommend dosage based on another company. All of these CBD products are going to be different. Between every company, they're going to be different based on things like what other cannabinoids and terpenes are in the product, whether they have other cannabinoids and terpenes in the product at all. Definitely something that you should be considering with a trusted healthcare professional.
Thanks for that. Allison wanted to follow up and say, are there any concerns with combining CBD with over-the-counter allergy or cold meds?
So again, I am not a medical professional. If you would like some education surrounding potential interactions with your medications, please just email into dosage@myiq.com. We will be able to help you there. Or if you book a dosage consultation, you'll notice on the intake form, it asks you to list your medications, and your dosage specialist will come prepared with the proper educational materials for that.
Thanks, Sydney. Are the calming melts something that you can take for immediate results at a moment of high stress? Would this work even though you are just starting the program or your routine?
So again, when you're first starting, your body's going to need some time to adjust. So some people do see results right away. Other people, it takes a little bit of time following a routine to really start seeing the results, even with a product like the rapid calming melts. But to answer the first part of your question, yes, the rapid calming melts have that fast onset, 5 to 10 minutes, and they're meant for those kind of, heightened moments of stress that are unexpected, or even maybe it is expected. For example, maybe you have a big presentation at work and you're coming up to it and all of a sudden you're feeling way more stressed than you were anticipating. That would be a great opportunity to reach for those rapid calming melts. None of this is to discourage you from using them as your first starting routine. They are a really wonderful product for a lot of our members. I encourage you to give them a try, but just keep in mind that the way you respond to CBD within the first couple of weeks is not necessarily indicative of what this routine is going to look like in the long run and how you're going to feel in the long run from it.
Yep. Great answer. I think you mentioning your headaches, a person asks, what other products do you recommend for headaches?
I absolutely love my daily drops for my headaches. I've personally found that taking a half dropper about every 2 hours for my headaches has been really, really helpful. Other people have needed more, other people have needed less. very individualized, again, I'm like a broken record here, keep saying, but I personally love the daily drops, but the rapid calming melts could be a really awesome option for that too, especially if you're not getting super frequent headaches. The rapid calming melts do come in a 15 pack, and in the Calm Plus collection, that's enough for, you get 30 days with your daily stuff, 15 rapid calming melts to use more as needed. The rapid calming melts pack a bit of a punch. They're 5 milligrams of CBD, but we partnered with a biotech firm to come up with this really innovative uptake method for those rapid calming melts. It has a mucosal binding and microparticle technology. So up to 95% of that CBD will enter your bloodstream very quickly.
I have flight anxiety, and it's a great option for me flight stress. And it's great for me when I need to like get on a plane and be chill. So, all right. Another rapid calming melts question. Is it possible to only use the rapid melts as an on-needed basis during times of high stress, as opposed to taking the daily drops or soft gels on a daily basis?
It's possible. Anything's possible. But again, the way your endocannabinoid system works, it really does need that consistency. We were talking about earlier how CBD can help decrease the slow down the breakdown of those endocannabinoids that you're producing. That's not something that's going to happen overnight. That's not something that's going to happen with one dose. So some people, some lucky people, they see the results right away. They do not need a daily consistent routine to get the benefits that they're looking for. But that's not to say that a daily consistent routine is not going to maximize those benefits. So following a daily consistent routine, even if it's just a small baseline dose, you do find that, say maybe 10 days a month, you have those unexpected moments of heightened stress. You're going to reach for your rapid calming melts in those moments. A great idea would be to start that daily consistent routine. Maybe it's just something small, like one full dropper a day or one soft gel a day. What you may find is that those high stress moments aren't even happening as frequently anymore. That's really the goal. We're looking to get that daily consistent support so that these stressful moments aren't as bothersome anymore.
I had a direct question regarding a subscription that was directed to me, and I think I can answer it really quickly here. Can I add one-time products to my subscription, or do I place a separate order for one item? For example, if I want to try the balm but not subscribe just yet. Currently, you do have to place that as a separate order. We call those a checkout order, as opposed to your subscription renewal. So you would just go in, like you're shopping the site, and check out with that one item. As a subscriber, I just want to add this, you can always get 10% off any of those like one-time purchase items. So you can use your code always10. That code is only for subscribers and only works when you're logged in as a subscriber. You can use that code, and so you'll get 10% off that relief balm if you just want to try it for that one time. I highly recommend doing that as a first time if you're just wanting to experiment with a new product. And then if you're really loving it, you can always add that into your subscription. And the nice thing is, if you're not using your one relief balm for a month, you can always take that item out of your subscription and then add it back in as you like. So you have options.
Yes. And as I'm sure some of you have already noticed, we do have a new pricing system on our website now, where if you buy 2 or more products, you get an additional 10% off. And if you buy 3 or more products, you get an additional 20% off. So especially if you are a subscriber with 2 items, it would be in your best interest to add that relief balm for 1 month and then go in and take it out, because that way you'll get that extra discount on top of it. So pro tip for all of our listeners tonight.
Absolutely. Yeah. You really start to stack the discounts when you subscribe. Okay, we are at time, but we'll answer a couple just like really quick. I'd love to answer everybody's questions because we're here, right? We are here for you, and we have the time. Mary, she was the one who asked about the hypothyroidism. She's concerned that CBD will affect the thyroid. Do we have any answer we can give to her?
That is going to be a question you need to discuss with your healthcare professional. CBD is something that should always be discussed with your healthcare professional, but especially if you have an underlying condition. Oftentimes, from what I understand, people with hypothyroidism are taking different medications. That's going to be a really important discussion with your healthcare professional.
Thanks for answering. Vivian asks, is CBD addictive? We did kind of go over this earlier,
Yes.
but maybe you could just do a very quick repeat of that response.
Yes. The World Health Organization's safety profile says that CBD is non-habit forming, which means it is non-addictive.
Thank you. Okay, two more. Can I just take a drop at night to help with sleep without the soft gel?
Yes, of course. You can with those two daily consistent products, so the daily soft gels and the daily drops. You can be using both together. You can be using one or the other. We have members who are doing all of it. Any different combination you can think of, we've seen it. So if you're gravitating toward one and want to start with just one, go ahead and start with just one. If you are not sure where to start and want to start with both, you'll of course have the opportunity to decide if you prefer one over the other and want to continue with just one in your routine. Whether you start with both, start with one, switch to both, switch to one, we've seen it all. There's, something's going to work. Different things are going to work for everybody. So whatever you're most interested in trying first, that's where I'd recommend you start. The dosage support team, if you decide to meet with us, may recommend a different product based on your health goals. But ultimately, we are here to help you make the most out of your CBD routine. We do not make commission on anything that we recommend. We are not salesmen. So, of course, any recommendations we give, again, are meant to maximize the efficacy of your routine.
All right, our very last question from Vanessa, who asks if CBD can be taken with alcohol.
CBD and alcohol combined in moderation is generally fine. However, if you have some sort of underlying condition that affects the way you metabolize alcohol, we recommend reaching out to your healthcare provider. And of course, low and slow with that. If you're going to have more than your normal amount, a couple drinks, maybe reserve your CBD for the hangover headache that you, if you're like me, will probably have. So again, combined in moderation is generally fine. Make sure that you're reaching out to your healthcare provider with any sort of questions, especially if you have underlying conditions that affect your liver or otherwise alcohol metabolism. And keep an eye on it. Everybody's going to respond a bit differently. If you find that it's not working for you when taking them together, you can skip your doses on those nights. You can decide to make other lifestyle changes, whatever it is. We want to make sure that you're doing something that both feels safe, is safe, and makes you feel good.
Thank you, Sydney. Thank you to everyone who participated tonight. This was really fun. It was great to interact with everyone. And then just a reminder, if you would like to enjoy our new limited edition summer flavor, which I am in love with, it's so delicious. You can use code SUMMERWEB20 literally just tonight. It's just for people who hung out with us tonight. And if you have any questions, you can email our support team. If you have any questions about using that code, feel free to reach out to support@myeq.com, and I'll pass it back to Sydney for goodbye.
Yes, thank you everybody for coming. This was so fun getting to answer all of your questions. We're going to be having another webinar next month. We do these monthly, and if any of you follow us on social media, we also do have a new series going on our Instagram lives. That is EQ&U, where we do short 10 to 20 minute videos each week, answering a lot of your questions, talking about our products, talking about different things that we can use CBD to help with. So if you're interested in learning more, check that out. Check out our blog. We are here to help. If you're starting, you're learning, you're a veteran, a CBD veteran, I should say, we're here for you. Thank you again for coming. This was wonderful.